Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Talk. Well, as you can see, I have two guests today. One of them just happens to be a relative of mine, my nephew, Jean-Pol Belanger. Sorry about that, people. And his partner, I guess I can call you partner, Taush Scott. Your last name is Scott, correct?
Yeah, that's me.
Now, they're going to have something really interesting and important, I think, to talk about. And it's about journeying into drugs and then out of drugs again. That's the thing they have to listen for. So, Jean-Paul, I'm going to start with you. Do you remember the first time you tried anything?
Yes. I was 9 years old.
9?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I just got back from a day that was horrible at school. And I was trying to get gas out of my brother's skidoo to put in my motocross. I was siphoning. I was actually stealing it from my brother. And I got high.
Off of the gas?
Yeah. And that was my first out-of-body kind of experience. And my mind was no longer on my trauma, the pain that I was going through day to day. It was really different because I could hear the sound of birds and stuff, and it was just like I could focus on something other than
what you were going through.
I was always trying to escape around that age.
Right, yeah.
That age.
But that is very early, I think, for a lot of I don't think most of the kids start at that age.
Not me, no.
How old were you? Yeah.
I was 13 when I started smoking and drinking.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
So was it with the friends? Was it with you weren't alone? You just
No, it was with friends. Yeah.
But I don't mean but. What would make you do it to begin with?
I guess really for me it was like at first just fitting in and looking cool. I guess.
I guess I could relate that to smoking when I was young. You know, but because drugs are not something I ever did. So no, I know you both have an individual journey into your drugs, and when it got really bad, and all the horrible things that are involved with that, right? And we'll delve into that a little bit. But at the same time, then you met each other. You were still doing drugs when you met, right? But at some point, I think you stopped first.
Yes.
And then Jean-Paul, you stopped after that, right? So at this point, how long have you been clean?
For me, it's been in 3 years.
Right. And what about you?
It'll be 3 years on the 1st of December.
So that's pretty good. So talk a little bit about your journey, Jean-Paul, into the drugs.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I started at a young age. Gas was my first experience. Yeah. And I did it to escape. Mm-hmm. I didn't do it with anybody else. I did it alone. And my life at the time was really full of turmoil. Only at school, though. My family were great. My mom and dad were amazing. My brother and sisters were present, in my life. And I had a lot of positive things going on, but when I went to school, it all turned to trauma and turmoil.
Did you ever talk to anybody, your family or your siblings, about the turmoil at school?
I didn't know how to, first of all.
Okay, yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was more out of to be scared.
Yeah.
Not to say anything. My mom's amazing lady, and she's a really fighting kind of type.
Yes. Yeah.
So she got wind of things were going wrong, and I remember a specific day her coming to school, and I could hear her yelling at the principal about something going on, and things took a really dramatic turn after that. Then I started getting beaten by the principal, and so I ended up being quiet about it.
Wow.
So gas took a little bit of, like a downfall because I started getting migraines and headaches, and I had an older friend, and he was into smoking pot, and I ended up just kind of like befriending him and being more around him. And at first I never smoked myself, but he had an older friend who had a car. So I hung out with my friend, he hung out with his, and just being exposed to it, I ended up just getting high.
Right, yeah. A different kind of, at that point it's a different kind of high.
Yeah, totally different. And at this time I was going through a lot of sexual abuse too. So I don't remember much that time frame what I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was always an escape. So
Yeah, right. What about you, Tosh? How did you get like further into the drugs?
Well, for me, my dad was also a drug user. He's actually gone now because of drugs. Just growing up in a drug and an alcoholic abusive home, it was normal to us.
Yeah.
When my life really took a toll, though, it was when I was with my ex-husband. He was really abusive. I actually was against drugs, to be honest, when
Right.
I first started dating him, and I just wanted to win his love, they say,
Yeah.
and I was hooked the first time, and yeah.
And unfortunately, the drug take over
Oh yeah.
your thinking, right? And then
Yeah.
you'll do anything at some point for
hmm
the drugs,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I have other boys that are in the system that I unfortunately chose that life over them, right? And now it's been a hard time getting them back, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But you're so in such a good place now. So,
hmm
but they're not here though. They're not in
No,
BC, right?
they're in Saskatchewan, so I mean things are a little different back there. Like, it would have been easier to get my son back, but the laws back there, they have to be 18 before they can decide, and
Um,
so just different laws and stuff. But I am dealing with that right now, and
mhm.
working with a lawyer to get them back in my life.
Oh,
So
good for you. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really good.
hmm
Jean-Paul, now I know you have other children as well, right?
yes,
I'm just saying other, but they have a daughter together, a really fun little girl. But you have other children.
I do. I continued my drug addiction really took root in my teens,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just to mask everything that was going. Like I was a really happy-go-lucky kind of person. I always was optimistic and stuff, but when I hit high school, I hit this kind of like status of popularity that uh, I didn't know what to do with. So I just started, like exploring, and I explored heavy drugs, LSD, PCP, and
Okay.
acid, and started drinking a little. Alcohol was always kind of like open in my household. I seen my parents socially drink, and it was acceptable. So I knew the difference between getting inebriated and drinking and having a fun time. But I just couldn't do that. If I drank fully. I drank too much, and
Right.
it would be to a point where I would just, like not be myself. And I did not like the loss of control very much. But when I did experiment with other drugs like LSD and stuff, it opened my mind, my perception, mushrooms as well. I wasn't touching cocaine or anything like that yet, but that came into play really quick. It's just like it got to a point where I would try any drug just to not feel the pain and the trauma that I was going through. And nobody knew that I suffered
Right.
because I did not. I was a great liar. I lied and manipulated pretty much all my childhood towards my loved ones and my family and stuff, and nobody really knew what was going on.
Right.
And I felt that it was kind of like if I suffered, I suffer alone because my family was kind of like they're very strong-willed people. My mom is amazing, and she's like really strong person. She comes from a very strong background, and I, like all my aunties and stuff and uncles, like there's no addiction that I know of much at this point in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And on my dad's side, it's a little different. They come from lesser means, and
Yeah.
it's just their background's a little more rough. But I don't know much about them, so I don't know there's any addiction in my family. So I was always trying to be the perfect son.
Yeah.
And I think my role in my family was to be the good boy, the charming person, the funny, the never in trouble. So I hit everything really well.
Right.
But it came to blow when I was around 16. I started hanging around people that were different, that were affiliated with bikers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend at the time was his dad was a biker, and the funny thing is, I didn't really fit in there either. And at that point, I started realizing that I was just, the way I was. And I had started accepting that drugs were a major part of my life at this point because they made me function well. I was happier. I was less depressed. And I don't know, it's just something that as a kid, you never think you're going to be a drug addict.
No, of course not. No.
And I remember, class, there used to be this one event where they would bring the police officers in and somebody that had suffered from addiction and talking. And at one point, my dad was in the Optimist Club, and I was in the Junior Optimist Club, and I became a spokesperson for Say No to Drugs program and the Say No to Drugs campaign in the 80s. I was all part of that.
Yeah.
And which was normal for me because most of my life at that point was all a lie. So it's like, oh, yeah, I'm a perfect kid. I'm never going to touch drugs. Meanwhile, I am. And when they had like these staged events where people would, I actually enjoyed it because I was getting more knowledge. And being the introvert that I was at the time, I did have a lot of friends, but not too many friends experimented drugs like I did. And they didn't really like it either. So it was like, well, I'm on my own in this. And at this point, I think my late teens, my dad and my mom decided that enough was enough. And they could see the change, the friends that I hung out with. One moment that struck me the most was my mom and dad confronted me over a paper. We were living in Montreal at the time. And my friends were shot. And they were on the front page of the newspaper. And the way my mom is, she's a very straightforward person and does not mess around. And what ensued was I was asked if I didn't want to submit to their rules in their house because I was living underneath the roof. I was gladly invited to leave. And my mom's a person that suffers in silence. I know this because we never talk about this. But I knew that she was hurt. And my dad asked me to leave. And I did. And I went and lived with a lifestyle that wasn't very good. Dropped out of school. Things started going really south really quick. And 18 years old comes around and I'm already being in trouble. At this point, I've been shot twice.
Wow.
Stabbed multiple times by different times. And it was all like just wrong timing. Wrong place, wrong time.
It's a harsh world.
It is.
I just want to correct you on one thing. There's different kinds of addiction, as you know.
Lots.
Like food addiction. Yeah. So some of your family, your aunties, have a food addiction.
Which I found out later on in life.
Yes, of course.
Much later on.
But we didn't see it that way early on anyway, ourselves. Okay? It took me a long time to realize I'm addicted to food. And if I didn't watch what I'm put on a lot of weight, but if I didn't watch what I was eating, I would be like 150 pounds and I'm like not even 5 feet.
We're all addicted to food.
Well,
we don't need to eat as much as we actually do.
But some things are more acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, you don't, I mean, we're not at the point where we steal or lie or whatever.
Right.
But I've done hiding food.
But you lie to yourself.
Oh, of course. But what you do is, it's the same thing. You play these little games in your head. I'm just going to have this one little thing today. Tomorrow, I'll start all over again, so that's the lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right? So it's the same type of thing. It's just more acceptable, maybe.
Yeah,
if you put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although people who are obese are not looked on very well.
Yeah.
People judge whether you're an addict of alcohol or drugs or food. People make judgments all the time, which I don't get because I think it could be you, it could be somebody you love. You just don't know.
Yes.
So don't judge.
Yes. Addiction is biased. It doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, where you come from, how much money you have, whatever, how you were raised.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that we wanted to do in our recovery journey, right? Tasha and I is raise awareness. We're not really maybe I'm not very good articulated at this and the right words won't come out and I'll stammer and try to get things out, but we'll do our best to explain where our lives were and what we did to our families and to ourselves is not normal. And most people don't realize that when you drive past a person that's suffering from an addiction, it could be behind closed doors and whatever that addiction is or on the streets. We're all affected some way by something.
Absolutely. I have a friend who's actually schizophrenic as a result of drugs.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book about it, by the way.
Oh, really?
Called My Bag of Trips. So it was quite interesting, So I think anytime you talk about it, it's always a good thing, I don't know if anybody who's in the middle of addiction wants to hear it.
Right.
But nobody wants to hear, it's like when you're dating the wrong person and somebody will say, what are you doing with him? You'll make excuses or you'll justify it, right?
Yeah.
So same idea. But okay, I want to just switch around a little bit there, Tosh, with you. Tell me about what motivated you to get off the drugs.
This time, I guess I could say, like
this time, because this is a long,
for sure, I've
3
always
years.
wanted to be off the drugs. It was just getting off of it, right?
Yeah.
And breaking that cycle. This time, though, I did get pregnant with my daughter. And yeah, I guess I have other children out there, and I just didn't want to feel that pain or hurt another child of mine, bring another child into this world and not be there. Yeah, so that's what motivated me, is just like I couldn't hurt myself again, another child. It did take me, unfortunately, until I was 6 months or so pregnant to get into the program.
But you did it.
But I did
That's
it.
The thing. You did it.
And I haven't looked back, and my daughter's healthy as can be. And yeah, we're blessed for that. So yeah, that was definitely my motivation.
So now, the fact that you guys were together doing drugs, was it easier getting off because you were together? No, eh? JP?
It was very hard.
It was very hard. Okay.
I was struggling while we were together. She was pregnant with psychosis episodes.
Okay.
And it's not because of her. It was because of the drugs, first of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because of my mental state and the worry that I had for her and the baby. Now, we weren't going to keep Abby. We were thinking of either, unfortunately, terminating or...
You don't have to say that. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, we were thinking, any option other than bringing her in our kind of lives, which is downward spiraling into nowhere. And our day-to-day life was just hell. And what do we do? And I would be on her case, and I'd be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't. How selfish I was. I can't use with you being pregnant. I need you to go into treatment. I need you either to do something. And she had already started the procedures.
Okay.
And she talked about it, that she wanted to. And then we had friends. In addiction, you do have friends. You got to be honest about it. Yeah, they're friends that use and all that stuff, and they're addicts, right?
Yeah.
We were addicts. Like, the difference between what kind of addict I was and another is totally, like,
we were
polarities. Like, I ripped my parents off as much as I possibly could because I knew they had money.
Yeah.
But I, to make the conscious choice of not going and stealing off them anymore was really hard. But in addiction, you'd get like these tidbits of information, or people would give you advice, like you should think of looking into the women's hospital that a lady had told us about. And we were skeptical, and my first of all was, we're going to lose the baby, Tosh is going to have, in trouble, and all that stuff. Because you're putting another life in danger. Like, where your mind goes is just sad, right? Because you're stuck in that darkness. And then, she just ended up choosing to go get help, which was, wow.
To be honest with you, too, like, when I went, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't. But for some reason, I just felt like he would get mad at me if I didn't go, or he wanted me to go. And so I went, but I didn't want to, but I'm sure glad I did.
Yeah. Whatever the reason was, you got there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did it.
Yeah.
She made the phone calls.
Right.
She did the footwork. Like,
so did you, though.
afterward, but I needed help, though.
Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah. She went to the BC Women's Hospital, which is this one lady told us about it, and she looked into it, and the way this lady talked about it, it seemed way too good to be true. And it was like, okay, and you can't believe, was it 99.9% of what comes out of an addict's mouth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, that 1% maybe, and she did, and she went there. And through them, they partner with where I went.
Together we can, yeah.
Yeah, which is Together We Can.
Right.
Together We Can. Now, I tried treatment centers. I don't know if you know this.
I don't know.
Am I allowed to call you Auntie Nancy?
You can call me anything you want.
Okay.
I am his auntie. Yes, of course you can.
She's one of my favorites.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you.
And I got to say something, right? This is off course here, and we might take a lot of rabbit holes with me. Trails, I mean. But the reason why I made it so far in my life without either committing, suicide
yeah.
or, just doing something is my family.
Yeah.
First of all, my mom and dad, my brother and sister, they're in the background, of course, they're not the front lines, and then my whole family. Like each time that we meet up with you or Auntie Katie or anybody in my family, no judgment. They knew that. I knew that they had what's going on back in their mind, but nobody ever made me feel bad.
I'm glad. That's important. I'm glad.
That my immediate family, that love is what really an addict needs. Yeah. And how do you unconditionally love somebody that hurts you over and over and over and over? I just don't know.
You just do.
I wish I had my mom here to answer this question.
But you just do. It's hard to explain it, like. Well, I don't want to get into my personal stuff because this is about you two. But it's so hard to explain that you come out of your mother's body.
Mm.
I
wish my family was like that, though. I never had now that I'm sober, they're here. But in my addiction, no way.
No, but we don't. I don't know your family, so I can't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I just know I come from a very abusive background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and the way we handle our stuff is we just get together and we laugh and we have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I went through periods where I wanted to commit suicide all the time when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I never turned to drugs because they weren't around very much. I didn't know a lot about them, and I dropped out of school. Drugs came into the school the year after I dropped out. I went back to school years later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's too late. To me, it's like, why? But so there was always that fear, though. And I used to drink a little bit. I was never a big drinker, but there was a time when something happened. Then I realized that, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Even though I didn't drink much, I allowed an adult to tease my son and to the point where he cried because I'm drinking. This man's drinking, and that was the end of that. My son was about 2 or 3 at the time, over, right? Because that's a horrible thing to do. You talk about what you guys did. This is just as bad. It's just a different thing, right? So people need to realize that your addiction and what you went through is no different from somebody else being a bad parent in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to say bad parent. I mean, I don't know what word to use. I'm not trying to say you were a bad parent, but I'm just saying that you go down these rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah.
And one day for me, it was like the fog cleared, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
Yeah.
The fog clears.
Well, yeah, you got to be, for an addict, it's got to be that state of the willingness. You have to really be willing to, you have to change everything. And it's just like, how do I do that?
But
oops, there goes a dress.
There goes. Sorry about that. My home is full of dresses because we're getting ready for this pop-up grad. And one of the things I was holding the dresses just decided to fall on the floor. So if you heard that sound, nobody got hurt during that process.
Nobody's hurt in this process.
So I do have poltergeist in my home, by the way.
Oh,
okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so that was very distracting. So where were we? So we're talking about the different, how you get off and staying off, right? Yeah. And yet just think about where you are now. I think that's just so tremendous. Really is.
Mm-hmm.
Like your daughter will not go through any of that. No. Like she won't see parents who are in that situation.
Yeah.
She'll more than likely not go there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she's too young at the moment, but
yeah.
Right? And hopefully you can you'll see her journey as she gets older, and maybe keep her talking.
Oh yeah.
But how do you not? I don't know. Like, how do parents? If you don't talk to your parents about what you're going through at school, or being bullied, how can they know to do anything?
Yeah.
Right. That's a hard
question.
One.
Like with my son now that I have back in my life, like me and him are completely honest to each other.
Good.
Like, yeah. He asks me questions and I'm honest with him, and I expect the same, and I tell him that. And I don't know, I do believe that you need to have, like, if your children ask you questions, be honest with them so that they know that they can be honest with you and come to you.
Yeah.
Right? And like growing up with my mom, like I was too scared to go to her because I was scared she was going to get mad at me or so on and so forth. So I don't know, like, just like try to stay calm and like talk to them about it, not, get mad or.
Yeah. Or say later, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
We grew up in an era, I grew up in an era where none of our questions were answered,
Yeah.
Right? So you couldn't talk about sex or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never got that talk neither, so.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I'm just glad though. Okay, so here's another question. Why were you wanting to do this interview?
I guess just letting it know it's possible.
She's doing it because of me, I think.
No, just letting like people know that it is possible to get clean and like coming for where we're from. Like I, lost my kids, so on and so forth, and now it's like it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late.
Never too late.
There's always that possibility of like getting them back or whatever. Like there's hope.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds really good. It's the hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That other people may not see it at the moment, but if they, hopefully somebody see this and shares this and, just let them realize that if you'll go through that journey, there's a light at the end of the rainbow.
That's right.
Or the tunnel, not at the end of the rainbow. We want gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, I want lots of gold too.
That'd be nice.
So anything you want to add before we finish up?
Oh, there's lots.
Okay, go ahead.
We didn't even cover half what I wanted to talk
Well, I know, and I think it's like, where do we go? Like, what questions do you ask? What questions do you want asked? What do you want answered? So we can always do another interview at another time.
Sounds good. We can do follow-up.
Yeah, it'd be good when your daughter's a little older or when your son is back visiting, right? That would be another really good time, maybe.
Yeah.
Have him sit down with you.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, I just have one thing. If there's anybody out there listening that needs to talk to somebody about what they're going through in life, or if they knew if there's options out there, because a lot of people don't think there is. There's a lot of options out there.
There is, yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
People that are either suffering an addiction, or we all know everybody out there knows somebody that suffers from addiction.
Oh, yes.
And there's many addictions, like you don't have to name them all, but there is hope. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a strong.
There's a lot of programs out there too, like the NA and AA program Save My Butt, and we do church, right? That's what saves us. So there's a lot of things that is out there that you can get your hands on for sure to help you. So.
Very good. So we'll end it there.
Okay.
But we'll continue this at another date.
Sounds good.
So thank you for everybody. Thank you for watching this show. You've listened to my nephew Jean-Pol Belanger and his partner Taush Scott, and their story is really inspiring, I think. So hopefully you'll share this with other people. Because you never know. It might touch even one person. That makes a big difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take care, everybody, and peace out. Now we're going to find the off button.